my intention was never to teach yoga. My intention was to study yoga. So I was learning yoga from Guruji, and it was in 1984 that he asked me to accompany him for the first International Iyengar Yoga Convention in San Francisco. And at that time, I was not a teacher. I was just, capable of only carrying his bags, basically, from one port to the other. But anyway, so that's how I started. I did not teach any class until the end of the tour in 1984 that he asked me to teach a class in London. And I just turned around and said, Guruji, I'm not his teacher. How can I go and teach a class or something like that? So he says, just do what I do. Go and teach. So that's how basically I took a short half-an-hour class. Then again, I didn't teach. It was in 1987 that I went for the first North American Iyengar Yoga Convention. This was in Ann Arbor. That's the time when I sort of was asked to teach a class because people thought I was a teacher. But anyway, I just taught a class there, although I had no teaching background in 1987. It was in 1988 and 89, I started to conduct classes in Mumbai in Iyengar Yoga. So my background was I never intended to be a teacher. It was as if that this thing just came about and I started to teach. Of course, I finished my graduation in 1981, and from there I was working first as an electronic engineer and then went in for communications. And I had a full professional corporate life, so to say, throughout this. So it was good for me because that ensured that the money was coming in to sort of meet my monetary needs. But the yoga was something which I did out of my love. And I'll tell you a secret. People think that the teachers are doing a great duty towards their students by teaching them something. But I'll tell you, the secret is that when you have to teach, you actually have to understand whatever you have learned and then try to make the adjustment. And as you make the adjustment, you learn better. So you become a better student if you are a teacher, not the other way around. And secondly, I also see that when I go for a class and I see people following my instructions and some people are doing better, some are not doing so well, then the question happens, why is it that this person seems to be doing better than what I am doing? What thing different he's doing? So I see that he has, let's say, moved his body in this particular manner. We gave him a better twist. So I said, let me try this out. Can I get a better twist by doing what he is doing, how he has placed his legs and things like that? So from there, you learn. So effectively, if you see, if you have 50 students in a class, each one of them is basically doing some different process within them, and you can learn all 50 in one time. So that's how you can basically, you are outsourcing your work to them and they are doing something and you feel the benefit of that. So basically, I think giving weightage to the teachers that they're doing great service is, I think, a bit overrated, as is actually the teacher is doing good service to themselves for their own practice and for their own knowledge. So yeah, that's how it started. So I guess it was around 1996, that a question started to arise. Being a person with technical background in engineering, I always wondered, how is it that people are able to express certain things objectively? So that was very simple. If you want to talk about unit of length, you would say 1 meter. But can I not have some unit of my internal sensations, subjective feeling? Is there a subjective feeling that I can express? And the question would be that everybody understands pain, everybody understands happiness, everybody understands pride. Is there a way by which I can actually talk to them about what I'm feeling and check if they are feeling the same? And that started my process in what you call teaching subjectively, as a subject to subject and not as objective teaching that, okay, jump, spread your legs 3.5 feet apart, left foot out, left foot in, and then go into the pose and give the techniques of the pose and then go on without actually attending what is going to be material to them is what is it that they are feeling. So from that point onwards, every time I felt something, there was a question, how can I express that? And how can I make somebody else do exactly what I did so that they can feel what I am feeling? So in this manner, whatever is the sensation I have to project it into somebody else. So that's the language which needed to be developed. And that's the time I realized that Guruji was doing the very same thing. He was feeling, and then he was expressing it words in order for us to feel what he was feeling. So that was how the transmission took place. The person from whom you learn a guru. So that way his students were guru, because whatever they did, he was able to absorb and observe and absorb. So in that sense, I would say that Guruji was saying that his students were his gurus. Not in the conventional sense that the student says, Guruji, do this, this, this. No. It is in this sense.
And your idea, what was it you wanted to say?
So this is something I want people to understand. There is something which is called a territory. Territory is a place, let's say, for example, Belgium is a territory. And if there's a territory, if I am in it, I can go on explaining to others what I'm seeing in that territory. Am I right? And I make maps of this territory for people to understand and move around. So if I say, if I have to be in Brussels and I'm going to go to this place and that place, I can make a map. Now the maps are of different types, right? You can have a topological map, which will tell you, the height of the land and the water bodies which are there in that territory. I may talk about the roads which are there, and accordingly I can build maps, right? And these maps are something which it becomes a legacy of people who are going to sort of read these maps to understand what Belgium is, how it can go within Belgium and things like that. So if I'm in the territory, I can make any map that I like. So for example, I may want to see which are the trees in Belgium. I can make a map of that. If I want to say, where does the rainfall is maximum, I can make a map of that. So if I'm in the territory, I can make any maps. So that is the thing which I wanted to sort of bring about in the class which we just had over the weekend, that each one of them is a map. And if I'm in the territory, I can make any maps. And if somebody asks me to make a particular information, give them any information when I'm in the territory, I can do that. On the other hand, there are some people who would be reading the maps, and from the maps, they'll be trying to get to learn what is, the subject of the map. Those are the texts. Now, the texts can help you, but no amount of text all put together. So if I take all the maps together and combine all this information and say, I understood what is Belgium. No, you can understand it, but you will not experience it. For experience, you have to be in Belgium. So this is what I find, that people say that, your style of teaching is different from this person and that person. That's not material. If you are in the territory, you can use any information and then build a map around that. And as long as you are there, you will be able to transmit the feeling which you have onto that other person. But if you are just, worshipping the map, like people worship books. If you are just worshipping the maps and say, oh, this book is correct and that book is not, it's immaterial. It's just a map. You have this great Belgian artist who saw the pipe, and you say, what is that? People say it's a pipe. He says, no, this is not a pipe. This is the photograph, or this is a painting of the pipe, right? So this is exactly what it is. Yeah, this is only objective observations about yoga, objective knowledge about yoga, but it's not yoga. Yoga is to experience. And that's the reason why you find a lot of people, fighting about certain things, that this map says something like that. But that is natural, because if these two maps are mapping two different information, they're bound to be different. So why do you have to keep on fighting that this is right and that is right? None of them is the experience. All of them are talking about the experience, and no amount of studying will get you the experience until you actually land on the territory. So this is what I believe. We becomes open-minded. Once, then there are paradoxes. Why do people see paradoxes? Because their starting point is wrong, because you are seeing the maps, you are reading the maps, you're talking about the maps. You are not talking about the experience. Once you get the experience, it is a particular territory. So if you are in that territory, you will feel the same. Not necessarily that when I start talking, if I'm in a different territory, I'll not be able to give that experience. So if I'm in that territory, my job is, and if I find that this experience is something which I would like to share, which I feel enthused to share, that is what I would like to share. Because I'm feeling good, so others probably might feel good. So I try to bring that experience into the other persons. So that's what I believe. But it's everybody will have their own experiences depending on which place they are in.
Which is crossing the river.
Yes, that's right. A very nice
Anything to say about?
Yeah, that's a very nice analogy. And I will say a similar kind of thing. When people saw, you're talking of the boat, I'm talking about Guruji's presentation in art form. You know, when he gave his demonstrations, everybody saw the demonstration and they're saying, wow, it's wonderful. But they didn't see behind that presentation what was in his mind, what he was doing when he was doing that presentation actually. So the fact is, people saw the outline, the boat, but they didn't realize what it was for. And people beginning to, they tried to imitate him. When you imitate somebody, you are going to imitate what you see in him. So if you see only the physical form, you will automatically try to, do that, whatever you have seen. But if you could see what is happening to his own body, in his own experience, if you match that, then you would get a different understanding. And Guruji was kind enough to say, you must have heard of it, that, when I am a teacher, I'm a warrior, and when I am a practitioner, I'm a philosopher. He has said that. What does it mean? He was saying that don't see me teaching as a teacher. You have to see me when I'm practicing, because in practicing, I'm actually a philosopher. What do you mean by philosophy? Philosophy is essentially the practice of dharma. If you were to say, what is dharma? Dharma is not religion or faith. Dharma is that which sustains. Okay? So the meaning of dharma is that which sustains. It prevents one who is about to fall from falling, upholds, uplifts. So that is dharma. So if you can remain in that state, that is dharma. And his philosophy was that if I am in this undisturbed state, I am in a very happy state. When I talk of happiness, it means I'm in a state of delight where I don't want to change anything. What do you mean by happy? Say, for example, if you eat and you are happy. If you eat too much and you say, no, I don't want to eat that much because I'm getting disturbed, discomforted. So happiness is if you are happy and you want to stay in that state for a very, very long time, that is true happiness. If after a while you feel disturbed, then it's not happiness. So, and what is the unhappiness? Where you want to come out immediately. That is not something which, if you want to come out immediately, it's unhappiness. So Guruji was getting into a state where he just wanted to just stay, because that was something which was sustaining him. He never tried to do a posture for impressing people. It was the quietness within him which was reflected outside in his presentation. So probably does it sort of address what you were aiming at?
Yeah, you were talking about, okay.
So like I said, you were talking about, let's say, the boat, and the purpose of the boat is take you across. The purpose of yoga is essentially to give you that sthira-sukham, and that sthira-sukham asana expression, or that is what he was. But people were enamored by what they saw rather than get understanding of what he was feeling. That's what even in his 95th birthday he said. People see what you are, but you don't feel it. You have to feel what I am going to be able to express this. 94 or 95, Guruji was teaching at the International Yoga Festival in Rishikesh. And I accompanied him. And while teaching, he just said, so far I'd never heard Guruji talk about the chakras, right? He never talked about chakras. Then suddenly he said, I'm going to, these people in Rishikesh, they think they know everything. Let me also tell them what is chakras. So I said, fine. I mean, I was just listening. It was just a rhetorical remark, which is saying that, I will talk about the chakras. So anyway, I thought he will teach us something. So I was doing some poses and I was demonstrating and Guruji was teaching. And then he suddenly said, now move the Swadhisthana chakra like this. I had no idea what Swadhisthana chakra was, but the body moved. Then he said about the Anahata chakra. I didn't understand where it was. That's the heart chakra. I never knew that, but I just did. So then it occurred to me, how is it that he's able to talk to me without the involvement of my brain? Because he was addressing my body parts directly without the information coming to my ear, then it's being processed by the frontal brain, and then it gives the information that now you have to do this, do that. It was as if this part of my brain was completely eliminated and he was talking to my body. That got me interested into saying this question, that people talk about that you should be doing something without ego. How can anybody do an asana without ego? How can somebody be staying in Shirshasana for maybe 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes without ego? You need to have the ego. Then because of the experience I had of him talking directly to my body, I realized that if I do not involve my brain into doing this, but just follow the instructions of the body, just as Guruji's instructions are talking to my body, if this instruction comes, then the asanas can be done without ego. And that's how actually started. And then, of course, I sort of streamlined it to say that you should have a process, just follow the process. It's like turning on the machine and the machine keeps on doing something. And then you are no longer involved. Your ahankar is not there. Your ego is not there and things lead to. So all you need to do is have a right process which keeps eliminating that ego. And that is exactly what it is, that the body, Guruji used to instruct my body. A slight deviation in this. My sisters always thought that Guruji was very partial too. That, and so because they told me very often that, look, Guruji is partial to you. I mean, if somebody else was there, he wouldn't have, you would have got a beaten or something like that. But with you, it's all right. So I always thought Guruji was partial. And then, when I was doing some demonstration, then he would put me around and, show my back to the rest of the audience and then say, do this, do this, do this. And I don't think, I'm not doing anything, but people, Guruji will say, see what he's doing? And everybody would say, nod their heads and say, yeah. I thought that, Guruji is saying, so it's fine. I mean, it must be something, but I don't think really I'm doing anything, but these people don't know, and maybe they're just wanting to please Guruji by saying, yes. They are seeing what is there. After many years, I saw the same video and I see to myself that Guruji is saying, move this, and it's moving, move that. And in my recollection, there was never anything that I was doing. That's the time it struck me again that, there was Guruji was speaking directly. And that was the reason why he was asking me to demonstrate. Because I was not corrupting his instructions through my brain. If it goes through the brain would do the corruption. So that it was later on only that I started to see that when Guruji was saying something, my body was responding. So that body was responding probably is because I didn't make an effort. I was not doing the effort. Somebody else is doing it for me. So why do I bother? So that's why I didn't feel I was struggling, because he was directly moving my body. I mean, not in the physical sense, but his words were directly hitting my body and making them move to work. But his words were directly hitting my body and making them move to work.
Okay, is this what you tried with Anantasana?
Anantasana was something which I used because most of the time when you do some Anantasana or any other particular asana, you want to do it. So I talked about in the class about how any movements or disturbance in the navel causes disturbance in your rest of your body. So which is the pose by which you can get your navel to rest completely flat, undisturbed. So that's why I used to do, what is called Supta Baddha Konasana, but lying prone on your stomach. Simple Supta Baddha Konasana with your belts around you. And instead of lying back, lying to the front with your legs spread apart. So that way I got the navel to be resting. But then there were some people who were stiff, who were not able to get that thing. So I said, okay, why all these things? Why not just make them lie down into the stomach? Once they lay down on the stomach, the navel became steady. That's the time I said, okay, let's try Anantasana. And Anantasana, because the neck elongates, your body spine elongates, and you get that feeling because anyway your navel is soft, your mind is still, and in that stillness, you'll be able to see the reflection of that stillness. That reflection of your stillness when you are in Anantasana became a kind of what you would call indexing of that experience in the brain. So every time you invoke it, it gives you that feeling. Every time you invoke it. So this is how we build the sanskaras. So if the sanskara was of pure asana, then that will be applicable in every asana that you do. So that's why I use this invocation of Anantasana. Invocation can be, suppose, how can you, if you have a pot, and if you want to reshape the pot, you might have to make it into a clay and then again start to reshape, bake it and make a pot. But if you are already in that substratum, that's what we call the buddhi, and if you are throughout everywhere, it can just manifest in a moment. So the moment it manifests, you have the that pose. And if you demanifest, you are back again into that same state, unmanifested state. So Anantasana was a good technique to make yourself unmanifested, that once you are unmanifested, refer to a particular part and you manifest there. And then say Anantasana, you demanifest that, and you listen to that, you see that process of demanifestation. This is where you are removing the impurities. You see, it is like a blotting paper. Extra ink has been there. I use the Anantasana as a blotting paper to remove the excess ink.
All right.
Even Guruji talked about it, you know.
I was like, wow, what is that?
He said, Namo Trikonasanaaya Namaha. Om Namo Parakrashkonasanaaya Namaha. That's what he meant. That you can, you know, it's not necessary it has to be only Anantasana. Once you have felt Anantasana, you are doing Samasthiti, and then Samasthiti becomes your mantra. Then anything can be a mantra. And that is why I say, for example, in the Indian tradition, you have got many, many gods. Now you invoke the first god, that means your first, what you would call your own personal god at that moment. But having seen that, you will find that every other god, you can see the same connection. Because just like you did Tadasana or Samasthiti and you say Anantasana, you got that. Samasthiti can be the mantra. So Shiva can be the mantra, Vishnu can be the mantra, and both will feed each other and make that mantra stronger. So this is, so every asana is essentially the same quality of sthira-sukham. Same quality, no difference. Why is it that Patanjali has not talked about any asana? Because he has given the essence of asana is sthira-sukham prayatna shaikilyam ananda samapattivyam. That is the essence. So any physical posture that you can adopt, get into that state, that becomes an asana. So that's why they say, 8,400,000 asanas. I mean, it means effectively any position can be an asana. Rather than say this position is asana, that position asana, he's saying any, as long as you have these conditions of sthira-sukham ananda samapattivyam. See, every experience you have generally would be stored in the memory by trying to compare it with something, okay, which you already know. So it is basically what we are doing is, if something new comes, you say it is like this, but it's not this. Now, in case of Anantasana, what you are doing is that if there is something which has no saliency, it has got no attributes, how can you capture that? Now that absence of saliency itself becomes the key target. So by experiencing something where there is no feeling other than of oneness, that is triggered and remembered as a experience. And every time you do it, you get that. So that is when the mantra actually is. Normally, anything which has got saliency, you'll have to identify the attributes and then arrange the attributes and get that. But in this particular case of Vayantasana, there's nothing to measure, there's nothing to hold, and that absence of holding itself becomes a trigger to get you into that state of Anantasana and Yavi pose. Does it make sense or am I rambling?
No, understood.
Okay.
Okay.
Because I cannot explain what cannot be attributed. I cannot put attributes to it, that it is happiness, it is sadness, it is joy, because it's none of that. So at best you can say that it was just a state which is undescribable because there are no attributes for me to describe. And that's what probably the ancient sages were trying to say, that, it's not this, it's not this, it's not this, because these are just representation. And what you need to understand is the experience, like your famous artist. What's his name?
Magritte.
Magritte. Yes, Magritte, yes. So experiencing is different and the painting is something different.
We can go directly to mantra, we can do directly to Anantasana.
We cannot. If I ask you to do it right now, you would not be able to do it. Why? Because Anantasana is a password that you use when you are close to that state of stillness. You get the point? So when you start, you have to get your mind tuned to this particular state wherein you are, when you say Anantasana, it comes. It's like a password which will give you that entry. So you have to prepare yourself. For Guruji, because he had practiced so much that the name Anantasana would immediately trigger. For rest of us, we'll have to do what is called an orientation. Every time you start the class, do an orientation so that you can come into that state wherein you can, otherwise it is just, visualizing something without actually experiencing it. So you have to be very close to that experience, and that's why there's so many techniques were given, depending upon what appeals, one can use that.
I don't feel to move. It's like the time is stopping. I don't feel my body anymore. I just go on. What do you think?
Okay.
Is this the same?
Have you heard?
Iyengar?
Yes. Have you heard about Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi? He was a psychologist, Austrian psychologist, if I'm not mistaken, who started to study what makes people who have reached, pinnacle of their in their professional life or in their sport or music and all. They tried to find out, when he interviewed them, what do you feel when you're doing a perfect run or when you're doing perfect music and things like that. So he started to find out a particular, he made this word state of flow, F-L-O-W, flow. So it's Csikszentmihalyi who has talked about flow. That flow is that state of asana. So if Usain Bolt got that feeling, whatever you are saying is all distilled in asana. When you lose that sense of time, you lose that sense of space, you are just into that, things are happening on their own, you are not doing anything. All these things which has been listed in the psychological state of flow as defined by Csikszentmihalyi is exactly there in asana. So asana is that state, which a musician, when he's composing and when he gets delighted, when he sees the hand of God, because things are happening on its own, the God is only doing it. Why? Because the ahankar is not there. So asana is certainly that state of flow which probably Usain Bolt talked about. So that is, again, asana is a human condition. It is not dependent upon a particular culture, particular faith. It's a human condition. Modern psychologists will call it a state of flow. I will call it an asana. Or modern neuroscientists will call it the working on the SCAN network, somatocognitive action network. It's the same. Once you get into the territory, you'll find the commonalities in this. So all the maps, maybe one person is talking about athleticism, someone's talking about music, somebody's talking about gymnastics, all of them in that final state when everything is just happening on its own, but that requires continuous practice. Only if you are able to have learned well, this thing happens. So it's a very good thing. If you can look at Csikszentmihalyi's work, you'll find it very, very interesting that how it relates to asana.
What the Yoga Sutra, the first part, what is talking about?
Essentially, yes. Essentially, the siddhis are something which happen, and also at the same time, the moment you get stuck, that means the siddhi has come to me, everything disappears. Siddhis are just a state. If you just remain uninvolved, that goes further. The moment you say, I got the siddhi, if the I has come, the siddhis are lost. Siddhis come because the I is not there. Truly, you can see. I saw in the workshop itself. I also mentioned it when somebody was doing it, and they were absolutely absorbed doing it very well, and they tried to do more. Because the I entered, I do not know, I mentioned that in the workshop also. You have lost it now. Because the I entered and they said, my pose is coming so well, let me do a little better. I has come and the pose just got distorted. You have to, if that is not there, then everything works. Of course, based on your ability of the body that you have. I can't expect to do Vrishchikasana like Guruji just by non-willing. No, it's not possible. But you will certainly do the maximum that you have ability in this process. I don't really believe in good or bad. Good or bad depends upon what your end goal is. So to say it's a bad practice or good practice is this. Now, a lot of people, and again, I don't know, and I am not qualified to speak about why people use drugs and things like that, or why should they not, on the other hand, why should they not also?
It's like to be in state of shavasana.
Yeah. So what happens is, I believe, and I'm completely wrong because I have no experience about it, but I can just guess that the experiences of their life are so bad that you would rather go to a neutral state than continue to live in that state. That's one possibility. Now, I don't think that usage of drugs was not there in Indian society earlier also, because in the fourth chapter of the Yoga Sūtras, it talks about, aushadhi. Aushadhi is drugs. So you can get the state of, at least you can go towards that state of samapatti, or, through drugs, through mantra, through tapa. But the fourth state, I mean, how getting into a state of that stillness itself drives further stillness, is the one which is recommended by the Yoga Sutras. So it could be drugs was already considered as an option, because a lot of drugs people try. Why? Because it gives you a heightened state of awareness. Some of the drugs will lower your state of awareness because you want to dumb yourself down. When you say drugs, it's not necessary all the drugs are downing. Some of them will be getting into higher state. Both are possible. But Yoga Sutras says that yes, that can give it to you, but it's temporary. You get addicted to that. You will be dependent on that. Whereas tapas also can be addictive. Mantras can be addictive. But the way of getting samadhi to keep you getting into a samadhi in a further state is something which is recommended. So I don't think I have got any reason, but from the social point of view, yes, if people are not working in the prime of their life because of drugs and those things, then naturally the society will be bothered that I am carrying the weight of somebody who's not doing anything. So, but in that sense, essentially, what each one is trying to do is trying to increase their sense of happiness. If the sense of happiness is so down, that means, like for example, we talked about the what you call maps of the body emotions. If you are depressed, not anything which can get you out would be acceptable. But when you are in such a state that you cannot bear to get into this state, or if there's so much of pain that you want to get out of that pain, drugs would be taken. So people take it, yeah, so be it. I mean, that's their choice. I believe that Father Joe is a practitioner of yoga. He has been with Guruji since 1967 or 68, right? And he has adopted the method of Guruji for his way of working with the rehabilitation of addiction, okay? Similarly, for example, you may have a person, who has taken Iyengar yoga to sportsmen, so that this Iyengar yoga can benefit the sportsman to do better. So in each field, everybody tries to sort of apply the principles of Iyengar yoga in their own fields. And exactly that's what would happen with Father Joe, because he felt the goodness of Iyengar yoga. And therefore he said that in my work of helping people with addiction, if I can help them, so that is why I will do that. So essentially this program which he has got, which is basically Kripa Foundation Iyengar Yoga, is towards helping the addicted people to come back into life, get some, be able to do something which pleases them and pleases the society. And that's what he's trying to do. This is a universal template. You put this and you'll get the output. Now, if you're looking at the problem is addiction, you do the process, you'll get the output, which Father Joe has done. Now, I remember it was in 1992, if I'm not mistaken, that I think Father Joe invited Guruji for his first center in a place in northern Mumbai called Vasai. So in Vasai, which was his, I think, family place or something like that, he started this effort in helping people with, at that point in time, alcoholic addiction. And Guruji came and he helped some of these people. He sort of trained a few people in one class or two classes which he had taken at that point in time on how these people could get out of their state. And then obviously, all credit to Father Joe that he developed this particular process using the tools which he had learned from Iyengar Yoga, and he brought this. For example, there was an Indian saint who was Ramakrishna Paramahans. He was the teacher of Vivekananda. Now, his first realization of the omnipotent power came through goddess Kali. Now, it is said that the moment somebody mentioned, you should never mention Kali in front of Ramakrishna, because he went into a trance instantly. So that was it was the mantra of Kali which took him in that trance. Later on, he did so many things. He became a Muslim for some time. He became in everything he saw Kali. So whether it is God or Yoga or whatever, he saw that infinite potential in everything. So that is, once he is in the territory, he sees everything. So that's why only those people who are looking at the maps and trying to, fight with two different maps, those are unmeaningful. Even if the moment you get into the territory, you will find that everyone is, whatever everyone has said about it, should still hold.
Even in BIYAB yoga, you can be fanatic. What do you think about that?
I don't think if you are truly practitioner of Iyengar yoga in the sense of Guruji was teaching and he was doing himself, you cannot be a fanatic. Otherwise, why would you ask? Somebody would say, I drink alcohol. Can I do yoga? He says, okay, do it. You'll be able to withstand the ills of alcohol better if you're doing Iyengar yoga than not doing it. Why would he say that? He was a vegetarian by tradition, but he never told his students, stop eating meat. All these things are immaterial when you are connected with the yoga itself. All these things are immaterial. What can I say about being connected to yoga? It is that which keeps me living, that which keeps me excited, that which gives me joy, that which makes me, happy, passionate. Yes. So I still teach, not because I need to teach, but because when I'm teaching, I'm learning, and that gives me constant learning. And there are times when suddenly I sit up that, oh, things are not coming, because, we have people who will come back and say, hey, what you're teaching is not there. And then I start thinking, what's happened? Why is it not coming? Let me see if it's coming to me, why it's not coming to me, to him, if it's coming to me. And then I am able to discover some part of the process which I took it for granted was not being explained. So that's what also keeps me awake sometimes at night, trying to figure out, why is other people not getting it? Why is it that I'm getting it so simply? Maybe I had my certain sanskaras or biases which took me very quickly. Others who don't have that biases or sanskaras, I might have to take them around it. Yeah. So basically it's that which keeps me going.
Okay, so you need to do yoga to clean the sanskara.
I don't think I'm doing any of these great things. I'm just doing it because I'm doing it. That's all. I'm not really saying that I've got a particular goal to reach somewhere or anything like that. I do it because I like it. I enjoy it. I teach because I like it. I enjoy it. So yeah, it's not that I have got a goal in my mind that I need to do that. No, okay. I'm not a missionary to sort of, if somebody is listening, then, and actually I'm not teaching. Actually, I'm just sharing my experience. I don't see myself as a teacher. When Guruji asked me to go and mentor a group of young, fresh teachers in Malaysia, I told Guruji, I'm a person who is like a maverick. I don't really have a system in place to teach anyone. He says, but what can I do for mentoring? So he says, just do what I am doing. As simple as that. So that's what keeps me. Yeah, I can certainly say that in my professional life, it helped me a lot. Why? So in professional life, everybody wants to get ahead in the rat race, For me, it didn't really matter. Why? Because in a professional life, what do you want to do? You want to be in the good books of the people at the top, right? But in the yoga class, you get people of all, careers and levels and things like that. The top person in a company is also coming to the yoga class. So why would I want to impress somebody? So that impression thing just went off. Secondly, you did whatever you had to do, and were not bothered about what other people think of you. So in this professional life, it really helps to find somebody who is so who's not dangerous, right? Mm-hmm. So the people come and then they support you. But if they see yourself as a challenger or something like that, they see you as a danger, they feel insecure and then try to stop you. So this attitude really, I think, helped my professional life much more than I can give credit to any other way, and other thing other than ability to yoga. I have a very stiff body, right? So when I was young, at that point in time, Vrishchikasana was something which attracted me very much. And it so happened that I would never get Vrishchikasana. So that's beyond the pale. I mean, it's not going to be there. I was in San Diego, and probably in the 1990, I was in San Diego with Guruji. And Guruji had got up early, and all because we were staying in the same house. There were quite a few teachers who were there in the same house, staying there. And Guruji had started his practice early, and there were other students who came and started to talk to him and things like that. I was sleeping. And then when I suddenly got up, I saw everybody was doing asanas. I immediately rushed into the studio where he was teaching. It was just in the house before the convention started. So I was so unprepared. He called me and says, "Birjoo, come here. Do this thing. Go for pinch mayurasana." So I went into pinch mayurasana. Then he just held my legs and put my feet straight away onto my head in Rishikasana. That's the only time I did Rishikasana ever. It was with his help. And then so incidentally, that was the time when he decided to have a backbend intensive in Pune in 1992. He says it's all about it's about understanding. It's not about physical, force that you did. I could not have done Rishikasana even with preparation, but somebody who was just got up, who was still in his sleepy state, he just put and that was Rishikasana. That has never come ever after that, ever before that. So yeah, that is, I have some kind of attachment to that pose.
Yeah.
Because that gave me that experience of, just opening up of every pore in my body. That was 1990.
Okay, this was your experience with Rishikasana, opening your body, opening your mind.
Just I felt myself liberated.
What do you mean?
Liberated means everything is flowing, every part of the body is there now, it is flowing. Yeah.
It's a big question.
This kind of questions always arises,
Yeah, sure.
I can explain this to you, that in Mumbai, people think that, we have got, let's say, 2,000 people, you need to spread it to 10,000 people, 20,000 people. To me, I use that example of a lamp. What is essential is to save the flame. You don't need to light up 50,000 lamps at one time if they are going to get extinguished sooner or later. All you need to have at least even one lamp which saves the flame for the next generation. So I would see that, yeah, people are worried. I'm not frankly too much worried about whether, Iyengar yoga, if it remains as a flame, it can light up anytime. It will light up anytime because there's so much of power in it. So I do believe what is important is to save the purity. I wouldn't like to call the purity also. Purity gives you a wrong meaning. It is just flame, light. You just need to have that light going on at one place, 2 place, 5 place. That's it. Even later on, it itself can light maybe the whole forest. You don't need to have to light up a forest to say that the flame is alive. You need to keep the flame alive. As long as you have one person who's keeping the flame alive, there's a possibility that it will light up again. You burdened me when you think that I'm a last generation.
No, I mean your generation.
Yeah.
No,
but I think we should certainly not get ourselves into bogged down of saying that if I should do something to improve, increase the kind of number of people who are coming. What is important is to be true to that subject. Just because it is drawing more people doesn't mean that I have to modify the subject to meet their requirements. Okay, I would say that, yeah. In India, you have the banyan tree. You know the banyan tree, right? Banyan tree is where the roots start to come from the branches itself, right? So the banyan tree starts here then the branches grow there and some seeds land on the branch and the roots start to develop from the branches and take root on the floor, on the ground. And therefore, it is also called a moving tree because it starts to grow. So Iyengar yoga is, in most systems, you have one tree and then you have the branches. In Iyengar yoga, it's a banyan tree. It makes one and then you may have some other. Gitaji comes and then Gitaji is part of Iyengar yoga, but it is part of herself as a teacher with her own following, with the old people who sort of revere her. And you have Prashantji, then you have Sunitaji, you have Abhijata, you have ex-teacher, white teacher, and so on. So it is a growing tree. It is not. It's not that once this particular what you call trunk is gone, everything collapses. No, it is just taking roots at different places. And if you are true to Iyengar yoga, you are part of that. If you are not true to Iyengar yoga, you go out, but then it's your tree, and it is not a banyan tree. It was not about Belgium. Okay, so I have been teaching this system, this process in Mumbai for many months, right? And I'm talking to people who are, in a sense, studying with me for years. So I did some techniques, developed something, and therefore I knew that they could receive it because I spoke their language, they spoke mine, and we were able to communicate very quickly. And I was to come to Oslo for the convention in France, and then Lucia asked me that if you can, take this workshop in Belgium, and I said sure, I can do that, provided of course the French people agreed to that because I am their guest. So she says, no, I've already talked to the French Association. So for me, this was a way by which I was going to try out what I am going to teach with the Western bodies, or we can say French or West European bodies, to see if they understand. And if they understood, I could take that with me. So I am, very selfish in that sense. So it sort of became a kind of a trial for me to see if people can appreciate that. And I used many techniques because maybe one or two techniques, if it doesn't work, I will leave that. If it works, I can add more techniques. So I was not very generous. I was a little.
But do you think we understood? Or?
Yes, I can say one thing. I can tell you because the class was supposed to end at 5, right? And 5 minutes before 5, I started the last session, in which basically people were asked to sit and not exactly do pranayama, but to sit and become quiet, right? The class ended at 5:20. And after the class ended, I just walked away. And after another 5-10 minutes, people were still not speaking. So therefore, they were absorbed in themselves. So in a sense, that gave me some courage to say, yes, whether they're talking or not, there was something because they remained stable until almost 5:30. And remember, those people were sitting for half an hour without movement. Normally, when you sit, you lose your straightness. But people were sitting for at least half an hour just without any disturbance. So that's what told me that, yes, people were certainly understanding, what I was trying to teach. And anyway, it's not that you need to understand everything, right? These were just some thoughts. And even if one seed matures, you've got a tree. You don't need all the trees, all the seeds to mature and give trees. One or two, so 2 or 3 thoughts, ideas which come, and if it can change the practice, that will be great. Not everything needs to be understood by everybody. So I'm as happy that if people could remain quiet, for almost half an hour without me giving any major instructions or anything like that, and remaining quiet after the session also for around 10 minutes, that gave me an idea that yes, people were at least touched somewhere.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thank you.
surely
Do you have anything else to say?
I've talked too much now.